Against the pristine obsidian gold floor of the Zenith Prime outermost ring stood a water attendant who absolutely refused to look up. A jagged 4-inch crack in the structural composite he studied with unwavering, microscopic intensity. The most powerful ruler in the sector walked mere inches from his worn boots. He did not flinch. Regent Alara swept past, flanked by 8 towering diplomatic guards. To her, the man in the drab gray uniform registered as nothing more than architectural dressing, an invisible mechanism maintaining the station's atmospheric pressure. Behind her trailing velvet robes, the attendant drew a remarkably shallow, metered breath. Exactly 1 inhalation every 14 seconds. He tracked the passing seconds internally. To him, the terrifying Zenith Prime orbital defense grid was merely a mild architectural suggestion. 109 minutes of total physical immobility. Beneath that shattered floor tile lay the engineering reality of the orbital hull. The decorative obsidian gold, imported at staggering expense, was notoriously brittle under high-altitude orbital shear stress, constantly fracturing under its own heavy aristocratic weight. Only the ugly, raw structural composite underneath held the freezing vacuum of space at bay. You'll want to hear how the Zenith Prime standoff truly ended. Trust me, the official records lied. Deep within the heavily guarded inner rings, the managed standoff commenced. The Hydrian collectives flowed into the negotiation chamber, moving as a single liquid mass around the circular table. We required 20 additional cycles for the outer reach trade routes. They resonated in perfect unison, their secondary eyelids blinking simultaneously. Across from the fluid delegation sat Warden Jorah of the Krell. Jorah offered 0 diplomatic pleasantries. Denied. The military commander crossed his thick, scarred arms. His rigid uniform plating clicked sharply against the table edge. The Krell respected only blunt force and immediate victory. Negotiation was merely an annoying delay between military campaigns. Not a single delegate or guard spared a glance toward the outer corridor. To the Krell's rigidly hierarchical minds, posture dictated threat level. The attendant's lowered head and persistent silence clearly signaled a broken, conquered worker caste. Why fear a mundane creature that willingly stood in the drafty exterior sector without demanding immediate recognition? This treaty we will not endorse under your current military restrictions. The Hydrians chimed, their collective vocal cords vibrating the chilled air. Alara steepled her elegant fingers, preparing a carefully calculated compromise. Before her lips could part, High Chancellor Vane slipped through the heavy acoustic dampeners of the chamber doors. The Chancellor bypassed the standard security perimeter entirely, his heavy boots echoing rapidly. Alara paused her impending response. With slow, meticulous precision, she adjusted the obsidian gold cufflink on her right sleeve, ensuring the ceremonial crest aligned perfectly with her wrist bone. Only after the metal snapped into place did she acknowledge the interruption. Vane leaned down to the regent's ear. His naturally deep complexion possessed a sickening, chalky pallor. "Regent," he breathed, his voice completely stripped of its usual formal cadence. The water attendant in the 12th sector. Archivist Murrow just manually cross-referenced the orbital entry logs against the forbidden physical archives. The designation, Vane whispered, the terrifying title catching in his throat like dry ash. The sole survivor of the Solstice ruin. He has been standing out there for 109 minutes. He did not come to clean the floors. He came to judge the Empire. Down from the elevated high altar stepped Regent Alara. Protocol demanded she summon the worker, a rule forged over centuries of Zenith Prime tradition. This tradition, she shattered instantly. Past the inner security perimeter she walked. Through the secondary diplomatic tier, she descended. Across 4 concentric rings of status, she moved, abandoning the confused Hydrian collectives. Every eye tracked her unprecedented descent toward the neglected outer corridor. Behind her marched Warden Jorah, his heavy boots grinding against the ornate tiling. Beside the jagged crack in the floor, the man in the gray uniform finally ceased his metered breathing. Vanished entirely was the hunched posture of a subservient laborer, replaced by the perfectly balanced stillness of an apex predator. His cold gaze, the regent met with wide eyes. At that exact moment, the fragile diplomatic posturing of the Zenith Prime system dissolved into complete irrelevance. Upon recognizing the man's facial structure, Jorah stopped dead. 3 digits were missing from the Krell commander's left hand, severed during the catastrophic atmospheric ignition of the Solstice ruin. Behind his heavily armored back, Jorah slowly slid that mangled hand. The physical survival of the orbital station now rested entirely on a man they had treated as invisible furniture for nearly 2 hours. Into a sterile private antechamber, Elara guided the silent guest. The 12-year renewal treaty for the outer trade routes she produced without hesitation. He reviewed the digital document in strictly 3 seconds. Your managed standoff is highly inefficient, the man noted, his voice devoid of inflection. During the minor logistical disagreement at the Solstice ruin, we resolved resource allocation much faster. A minor logistical disagreement. That singular historical event had boiled 3 oceans and reduced 2 Krell armadas to floating slag. In the corner, Jorah swallowed audibly, pressing his ruined hand tighter against his spine. Across the chilled metallic table, Elara pushed the signing stylus forward. Her composed exterior remained intact, though a faint tremor betrayed her extended fingers. "You hold the highest security clearance in the sector," she stated, her voice tight. "You could have bypassed the outer reach entirely. Why wait exactly 109 minutes in the cold?" The stylus scratched harshly against the illuminated datapad. The treaty, he authorized with a single sweeping motion. "Patience is what you use when power is too expensive," he replied quietly, handing the instrument back. "The room you actually govern is the one you aren't watching." Never had the extended silence in the outer ring been a display of lower status obedience. A highly calibrated stress test of her leadership integrity, it was. Solely to measure her blindness had he been counting the seconds. Out of the antechamber walked the man in gray, disappearing into the transit concourse. Elara remained seated at the table. A direct administrative override code, she entered into the station's maintenance ledger, bypassing the diplomatic budget entirely. Priority 1 repair status appeared next to the outer ring coordinates. Beneath the shattered obsidian gold, the raw structural composite waited for the cruise.